Well, hello, amazing parents, and welcome to another Graceful Parenting training video. I'm Amy Hayes, the author of Graceful Parenting and the founder of Graceful Parenting Academy. And this week I want to talk about something a little bit different. Normally we talk about just parenting topics, but over the last few weeks I've been working with parents on their own personal identity issues. And after several sessions, I asked the Lord, "What's going on here? You called me to mentor parents and not do this inner healing kind of work." But then the Lord said, "Well, Amy, parents have issues that are going to affect their children if they don't deal with them." And that was the first time in over 20 years since the Lord called me that I've actually thought about my calling as more than just straight up parenting training. And it's true, though. You come into your marriage with baggage and wounds from your childhood that are going to affect your marriage if you don't deal with them. And it's the same with your parenting. If you don't deal with your own personal baggage, it's going to affect your children. And so that was the first time, like I said, in over 20 years that my understanding of my calling to parents expanded. And I thought, wow, there's a lot of things I could offer parents that would be helpful, spiritual, training and coaching and teachings, things I've learned over my lifetime. But today I do want to talk about this issue of triggers and when we respond to situations when we have an emotional response that we can't control. It's automatic and it almost takes over. That's when you know there's something that has in your heart that's been triggered. And let me tell you, that's not your true identity. And so that's a signal to you that something in there is, there's a lie operating in your heart that needs to be exchanged for the truth of who you really are. So what you're doing is you're working on your own true identity, reparenting yourself from the things that were not established in your heart when you were a child that are still affecting you to this day. Because the truth is, as we've talked about, that those things that go in to your heart, your subconscious, when you're a child, will, if they take root, then they'll bear fruit for the rest of your life until you uproot that seed. And so I had an experience yesterday that I wanted to use for an example because it was so profound and so timely, as the Lord has just been talking to me about this over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And so as you know, I have a son who has special needs. He's 23 years old and he participates in Special Olympics. And yesterday he had a Special Olympic bowling practice. And so he's not good. It's not like he's he's athletic, but he doesn't understand rules and games and how things are supposed to go. Like he can shoot a basketball like nobody's business and drop 3-pointers all day long, but he cannot play the game of basketball because he doesn't understand what's going on and what he's supposed to do and how it goes. So he's athletic, but when he plays in these sports, I don't expect him to be a stellar athlete for that reason, just because of his cognitive ability and lack of ability to understand the game. And so he goes to bowling just to hang out with his friends. He likes it, and he used to bowl with his dad pretty frequently. And so I usually keep my distance because I know the frustration level that rises in me when I watch my son, whom I know has physical ability, athletic ability, but his cognitive ability prevents him from operating at his full physical athletic ability. And so I was going to watch from the other side or just kind of hang out the other side of the bowling alley and give him his space just to do his thing. But I quickly realized that the boy who's usually there to help him wasn't there. And so he was struggling and he didn't know when his turn was and which lane he was supposed to bowl on and all of that. And he's really slow moving. And that frustrates me, although it shouldn't, because I tend to be, the tortoise and the hare. And I'm the hare. I'm always darting about, and the tortoise always wins. And so I don't know why I have learned that lesson, but I haven't been able to apply it to my own temperament. So anyway, I go down to try and help because I see that he's struggling. And very quickly, the frustration level in me is rising and I can feel it. And I'm over managing, over controlling, over instructing, over mothering, over everything, and becoming more and more frustrated. And so it's like I'm out of body watching myself going, Amy, what are you doing? And you're just frustrating yourself, and you're ruining your son's fun. And he's very tolerant. He's used to me, but this was beyond the norm. And usually I'm able in normal circumstances, just everyday circumstances, just to, be patient with him. But I was losing my patience. I was like trying to show him how to look for his turn, and, he wasn't getting it. And so after 2 games, when they were done, I was ready to go. And he was ready, got his shoes on, we left, and he was fine. He tolerated it, but I could see that I reduced his level of enjoyment to a certain degree. But like I said, he's just so easygoing and tolerant. He doesn't let it really get under his skin. But by the time we left the bowling alley, I was still in utter frustration. And we get in the car and we're driving, and I'm like, I have to go somewhere. We have to do something. I have to blow off this steam. And I'm really upset with myself. I'm like, why are you so frustrated, Amy? You know that your son's ability is X, and why do you expect Y? And so I thought, well, let's go. I've been wanting to go to this park that's an hour away and do some hiking. So I said, yeah, let's just go. We didn't even go home to prepare. We just went in the clothes we had on. I thought, we're just going to go. So I thought the drive will do me good. The hike will do me good. So we're driving, and we get there and we start hiking. And when I walk, and especially when I'm out in the woods hiking, is when I can really connect with the Lord. And I love to, everything slows down. The rhythmic walking helps me to focus and just chill. And so I started to talk to the Lord about it. I thought, you know what? It's just normal. All parents get frustrated. And I thought to myself, it doesn't matter what ability level our kids are at. We always want them to do better, right? We always think they should do more. And that's that behavior-focused parenting. And I thought, well, yeah, I fell into that, didn't I? And it's like, well, that's normal. And I kind of brushed it off. And then a little while later, it came back up. And I thought, you know what? That frustration I was feeling, it was like utter frustration. That is not normal. No other parent was responding that way in this whole bowling alley full of probably 50 kids, if not more. And, everybody's just relaxed and letting their kids bowl. Not me. I'm up there, net. And so I thought that, it's not normal, Amy. That utter frustration is not normal. And I thought, yeah, you're right. And so I thought about the prayer of transformation. If you have the book, Graceful Parenting, or the workbook that goes with it, the prayer of transformation is in the back of the book. And I've always offered this as a kind of an addendum to my parenting training for parents to deal with things as they come up. And it's the most powerful tool, probably, if not the most, one of the most powerful tools. And I think it's probably the most powerful tool that I've ever used in my entire life that has affected me spiritually in a positive way. And I've used it for probably 15 years or more, off and on, as things come up. And it's a way that you and the Holy Spirit can deal with these things that come up. You don't have to schedule an appointment with anyone. You don't need another person to walk you through and remember all the times in your childhood when you felt this way, or remember a situation when you felt this way. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those things, but sometimes we don't know. We don't know why we feel that way. We don't remember when we felt that way. We don't, and it's like, it goes back to that we wanting to understand with our human understanding. And we don't have to, because first of all, our subconscious knows all those things. And the Holy Spirit, which is our heart, the Holy Spirit knows all those things. So we can hand it over to the Holy Spirit and say, could you deal with this? And He will. And he leads the process, but we cooperate. So we have to first invite Him and ask Him, and then we have to cooperate with the process. And so that prayer of transformation is just my version of the process. And I put it together from different things I'd learned over the years. And even now, I don't do it exactly like that prayer, and it's not the same every time. And even when I lead people through the process, so they can see how it works, it's not always the same. But that prayer does give you a good outline and format to follow, and you can word it in your own words and move it around the way you want to, and add pieces and take out pieces. But just know that this is important, because, like I said at the beginning, if you have these things and that trigger you, and nothing can trigger you more than your kids, right? I mean, we learn things about ourselves that we never knew, and, until you have children, right? And that's why I call parenting the most effective personal development program on the planet, because it will stretch you farther than just about anything else in life. And so anyway, I'm walking along the trail and I go, okay, utter frustration. When have I felt that before? I don't know. But I know that that was not normal, and it wasn't from you. It wasn't just a normal irritation. Like, there's justified anger. Jesus was angry, but when there's something that takes over, and this literally took over me, I knew I was out of control emotionally. It wasn't like I was ranting and raving or anything. It's just internally, I could feel that I was not in control of my actions. It wasn't like I caused a disruption or anything like that, but I felt it inside of me, like this has taken over me and I am doing more than I need to do. And I could just sit down and be quiet, but I couldn't, even though I wanted to. So that was a sign to me that this was not normal. So I'm walking along the trail and I start going through the transformation process in my head. And that's the beauty of this. Once you understand this, I've done it when I was driving and had incredible breakthrough while I'm driving, spiritual healing while I'm driving, walking all the times. When I talk to the Lord a lot is when I walk. Just lying in bed at night, or when you can't go to sleep and things are on your mind. So I start walking through this process, and, when I started, I thought, is this a pattern in my life? And honestly, I couldn't see it in the moment. I was like, this isn't really a pattern. And it makes me laugh now because it's been such a pattern, but I couldn't see it then. It was like I was blinded to myself. That's how bad this was. Because I think that the more something has become a part of your life, normal, what you think is just part of you, the less you can see it. But that's, again, the beauty of this. You don't have to see the whole picture. You don't have to know all the times you lost it or you felt this way. I just knew in that moment that utter frustration was not part of my true identity. And so I took it to the Lord, I took it to the Holy Spirit, and I asked him to deal with this and to discover the root and to uproot it and to replace it with the truth. And as I went through the process, as it happens often, I literally felt a spiritual release. And what that is for me is, as I'm asking Holy Spirit to search my being and discover the root of this utter frustration and to uproot it, and I renounce agreement with it, and I forgive everyone who's contributed or even caused me to be this way, because we do learn these things from the way we're raised, right? And I could see that after a while. But as I'm going through this, I feel this holy release, and it's like I feel like I'm going to burst out crying. You know how you feel that build up and you're like, and it gets right here and you're like, oh, wah! Well, I said, I'm going to burst out crying right here on the trail. And I didn't care. There wasn't anyone around. But I was just like, but what happens when it's a spiritual release is that it gets to that point where you think you're going to start bawling and it just goes, ah. And that is the emotion being released from your body, because what happens with these emotions when we don't deal with them, when we suppress them, they literally get stored in our bodies. And that's why you feel emotions in your body. And that's why you feel an emotional release when the Holy Spirit removes them. And he's removing it from your DNA, from your cells, because emotions get stored in your cells. And that's what causes a lot of disease, is suppressed emotions. So when we don't allow them to come out. So I kept suppressing. And now a little thing like a bowling game is just like, it's boiling because it's been so suppressed. So I was like, and then I'm just like, wow. And then I asked Holy Spirit to fill me with the truth of who I am in that area, which, you'd be very specific with that and allow Holy Spirit to lead you. But I wanted to share this because, I know what I was going to tell you. So once I began, Holy Spirit began working in me, and I went through the process with him, and I'm, listening and watching and, being aware of what's going on. I could see how my whole childhood was utter frustration, not for me, but for my father, who was always frustrated with us kids, with my mom, with life in general. And so I grew up in an environment that that created that atmosphere of just, that's how you respond to life. It's like a learned reaction, is just this utter frustration. And I also realized that I had raised my kids that way. Like I couldn't see it, when I was still suppressing it. But as it began coming to light and coming out, I could see, wow, I was that way a lot with my kids. But it was just amazing to me how blinded I was to it until I asked the Holy Spirit to deal with it. And so anyway, that's what I wanted to share this week, is that if you have not looked at that prayer of transformation, look at it. It's in the back of the books. If you're part of the academy, it was probably sent out to you at some time. If you want it and you haven't received it, send me a message and I'll send it to you. I share it with people all the time. And it's so transformational. It's just, I think, we've been given the Holy Spirit, the comforter. You think about the word comfort. That's an emotional word. He's there to comfort our emotions, not just to, say, there, it's okay to feel that way, but to literally to heal them and to restore us to our true identity. So I hope that's helpful to you. It's really important that you deal with your issues, or you will pass them on to your kids. The utter frustration, I learned it from my dad. And my dad was a great guy, but he wasn't perfect, and neither am I. So I'm still dealing with issues, at this point in my life where I'm a senior citizen, I am a grandmother, my kids are all grown, but I'm still learning and growing in my true identity. And I encourage you all to be open to doing that as well, for the sake of yourself, but also for your children. So until next time, take care. God bless.